Hi everyone, it's Sunday night. Welcome to Ricardo and Reddie. Mark, it's the weekend.
It sure is. Happy Sunday, everyone, as we enter another week of lockdown.
What have you been up to?
I did something new again this weekend. So not only have I been cooking, and that's slowly getting better, I have also started boxing. So
Right.
my personal trainer that I had at the gym, we never really did boxing, and now we're doing boxing outside because that's kind of the only thing you can do and choose. And it was fun. It's really hard. It really hurts the upper part of your arm. That really hurt. And it's a lot of thinking. You really have to focus. You're thinking about where your arms are going. You don't want to
How did
hit
you
the
cope with
person.
that?
It was a lot. I felt exhausted. And then I walked home from Marrickville, which is about 6K. So it took me about an hour and a half. And so I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. What about you? What did you
Yeah,
do?
I just ate. No, I went for a big walk with a girlfriend of mine, picked up a couple of Portuguese custard tarts, coffee, and that's the weekend done. Oh no,
Easy.
that's a big lie. We did something interesting yesterday, Mark.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that feels like so long ago. It feels like a week ago in this time still world. Last night we actually went out essentially, but online, and it was a drag bingo hosted by Prada Clutch, who I think might be watching, um, and it was really fun. So basically, everyone gets on Zoom and there's about 115 people and the screens are everywhere. Yeah, just like that. And you've got people from all over Sydney. We had people in Western Sydney, we had people, I think in different, we had the Tokyo, some Tokyo reporters on.
Mm.
It was really, really cool. And it's so she does throw to these different people and asks them basically what they're doing. And you have someone in Campbelltown or you have someone in Bondi, and everyone's doing. It's kind of like Gogglebox. Did you find that?
Kind of, yeah. It was very community minded because you had around 100 people on there participating in a bingo online. So it was a lot of fun, and it passed the time, and it was a great way to spend a Saturday night.
Yeah, and I won. I also won for the first time ever. I won $10.
Woo!
I never win ever.
Well,
So we've got.
speaking of winners, that's a really bad link, but we had a really good
Bad
show.
segue.
We had a really good. I know we had a really good show last week. Our first episode. We spoke to Paul Riggio in London, where he spoke about how he built his television career into international television. But our second interview, also Flip Pryor, was quite interesting as well. Mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was, and she basically is someone who is single and alone and lives by themselves. And she basically started cooking her neighbors' food and delivering it at their doors. And that has become something that has caught on since we did this show.
Well, it looks like we may have lost Mark for a moment. Let's see if his connection comes up back soon. In the meantime, he was mentioning that here we go. Mark's back. Here is some of that vision of our friend Gavin delivering some of that food to his neighbour. And the best thing about that is he mentions the inspiration of that first show. So margarita there. Mark, that's your favourite drink, isn't it?
It is. I'm actually drinking one now, but mine doesn't look as good as that one. It's in just a green glass.
So that's great. Thanks for that feedback, Gavin.
And we didn't see the neighbor though. Who was it? I wonder which one it was. I love his neighbors. It's like at Ramsey Street.
If everyone's joining for the first time, the whole purpose of this show is to put a smile on your face, but more so to provide you with some inspirational stories, some uplifting stories during lockdown. You can get in touch with us by sending us a message on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Ricardo&Reddie, or sending us an email, ricardo&reddie@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And also, Mark, let everyone know how they can get in touch during the show.
Okay, so yeah, we are wanting people to send through their questions for our guests as well. So should we bring in our first guest?
Sure. So Our first guest, I was informed about by an ex-colleague of mine, and he said to me, "You need to speak to him. He's a fantastic musician and has got quite an inspirational story." So he's a songwriter and a musician based in Western Sydney. As we know, music's a hard industry to crack, but here's the thing: he used lockdown to create a kids' music video, which went viral, 16 million views in just 2 weeks. So here he is joining us now live, Van Sereno. Van, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Van, before we talk about how you went viral, right, give us your backstory, because music wasn't necessarily always the very first thing you did, because it was a weekend gig at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Just did graphic design, and I was just doing bands and the weekends, and then literally got hit in the head. Literally, I got ambushed for my wallet, and then I started getting flashbacks and went to the counselor, and the counsellor said, "Well, are you happy?" I'm like, "No, I'm miserable." "Well, what will make you happy?" "Oh, music." And I'm like, "Okay, well then I'll quit my job." And I quit my job, 3 months, quit the day job, and I went full-time music, and haven't looked back since. It's just haven't worked a single day in my life since that day when I quit my day job and went full-time. So there's my story.
And it was one ugly incident that basically triggered you to completely just change your whole life.
Pardon?
So it was one ugly incident that basically made you change your whole perspective and direction.
Absolutely, Mark. Yes. Yeah. One whole thing that changed the trajectory of my whole life. Some aha moment. It's like, oh yeah. Like,
so what kind of music? What kind of music do you play, and how do you play it?
I was doing a lot of pop stuff, just cover bands, and then like when I went to original music, we're doing funk stuff and groovy stuff, pop stuff, classic stuff, top 40, the stuff that you hear on on the radio, yeah. But then when you go into original music, it's different. So I did that for about 9-10 albums, and then it just I transferred into children's music naturally because I became a dad, so I guess I do kids music now.
and before we talk about the kids music, because you obviously the music industry, you play a lot of gigs, you need to be in venues. How are you coping with lockdown?
Yes, it's tough. It's really tough. Like you got to pivot. Like there's no gigs. Like gigs were stuffed. Like even in the first lockdown last year. So all you can do is when the wedding inquiries come in, you say, yeah, my quote is this, and hopefully are you all right with the quote? Things like that. You just gotta roll with the punches. I did some childcare centers, did some pubs. A couple of really good pubs have helped me out. I've got two regular pubs that give me work. I've got this casino really doing well, giving me work, and I've got a restaurant and a cafe in Surrey Hills that helps me out. So thank God for these venues. Yeah, my friends who are musos are doing it tough too. And
speaking of lockdown, you're in Western Sydney. That's one of the areas where it's in a hard lockdown compared to the rest of Sydney. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, man. Like all you got to do is just stay positive. Hey, like thank God I got dogs to walk around the block, so then it breaks up the monotony. Hey, like you can't do much. You really you can't do anything. You just go to the shops and get the heck out of there. Get the stuff. Get out. Yeah, it's tough, but you got to smile and do it.
But do you know what you can do? You can become viral on YouTube. So before we talk about how you did it, how about we take a look at what you actually did? So this is a 1-minute video of the song, the kids song that Van did that got himself 16 million views in 2 weeks. Here it is.
Daddy finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? Mommy finger, where are you?
Here I am, how do you do?
Brother finger, where are you?
Here I am, how do you do?
Sister finger, where are you?
Here I am, how do
baby finger, where are you?
Goo goo gaga, goo goo gaga, goo goo goo.
That's great. I love that. It's very catchy.
It's a bit of an earworm, isn't it?
Hey, I didn't write that. Can't take credit for that song.
But it still went viral. What was the inspiration for it, though?
I really wanted to do Star Wars, and my mentor, my teacher said, "Nah, don't do the original first as a practice run." And thank God they told me to do that. So did that as a practice run, and because the Star Wars one really didn't do as well.
Right. So there was a Star Wars version of that song, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to do just the Star Wars version, and my friend said, "Do the original version first." So thank God he did.
And you mentioned with this album as well, there was something to do with you draw on like the different dynamics between kids and their parents. Tell us a bit about why that as a subject for some of your songs.
Oh, kids and it depends what album. Like on the first two albums, it's just about trying to get your kids to do cool stuff and just get the bond right and educational. But by the third album, it got a bit more complicated issues because in my personal life, I separated from the mother of my kids, and then I thought, well, why not make an album full of music that's related to that kind of genre, that specific type of people, like kids from separated parents. That's why the third album is a little bit it's different to the.
But what I
love
about that is
it's
sorry to cut you off, but what I love about that as well is you've turned it into something really positive. So kids that are watching who come from separated parents or families, it's really positive, and you kind of listen to it and you feel good.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate your kind words there. Yeah, I just
Van,
wanted to focus on the positive. Yeah,
Van, we've got a viewer question. If you want to answer it as a musician,
sure.
So Salim asks, the song's super fun. How important is the use of repetition in kids' songs to make it a success?
Very important, but I guess too much of anything is bad for you. So you got to ride the fine line of repetition. Yeah, because you don't want to be annoying, but the kids love repetition. So you kind of just got to give it a go and see what works. Look, I played a few childcare centers to kind of figure out what's too much. You just got to, experiment and just, play as you go, and you figure it out. You're like, okay, yeah. I mean, I've been criticized that a lot of my songs are too repetitive. So maybe I'm not the right artist to ask.
Is that by parents or children?
Yeah, for kids. I mean, it's needed for kids, though. You have to. When you're a children's artist, you got to look at Baby Shark. Perfect example. I mean, over and over again. Oh, man, please.
Yeah. And I guess one of the takeaways is, so you got 16 million viewers in 2 weeks. A, did that surprise you? And B, what's your tip for making a viral video?
Firstly, it did surprise me. I did not expect that kind of reaction from the general public. And to answer your second question, choose the right song. So do your research, what works well in the algorithm on YouTube. Choose the right actors. Make sure the song that you do is really the best thing you can do in the studio, and edit it right. That was the second upload that I did. The first upload, the color correction wasn't right. My friend called me and said, take it down. You got to fix the color correction. Thank God my mentors did that. So I followed their advice to fix the color, put it up, and look what happened. You know what I mean? Make sure the color's right, the composition is right, editing's right. That's it. Yeah.
When you walk down the street now, do kids stop you all the time?
The truth is, man, no one really knows me. So it's only kids don't recognize me. It's only like overseas that I'm getting the hits. Like Australia doesn't really know. Like a lot of my viewers are there's like 30% of them are from India. I got like a great deal of followers from Indonesia, from Brazil. Yeah, there's a few from the Philippines. So thanks, that's why thank you guys for helping to get the word out in Australia. God bless you.
We haven't gone viral yet. But hopefully that'll happen with you on the show.
And Van, finally, what now for you, especially now that you're in lockdown? What do you do?
Well, I'm concentrating on videos now because obviously there's no gigs, so I'm just going to keep doing videos and also new material of writing right now, working on album number 14. Yeah.
Oh, good on you.
Do you have any sort of like slight peeks of what that might be about?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
In terms of the album, will you continue focusing on kids and parents, or are you going to do something different?
So, Ricardo, did you hear? I'm so sorry, Mark.
That's all right. Mark wants to ask, what are you focusing on in terms of music? Will it be kids now only, or will you do some for parents, or broaden out?
I'm pretty much trying to focus on. I'm going to go with the kids thing. So focus on more children's music. I think that's the plan.
And to take us out,
it's working well. Yeah.
To take us out, do you reckon you can give us 30 seconds of a kid's song then?
Yeah. Can I do? I'll do an instrumental if that's okay with you guys.
Go for it.
I love it. Well done.
Van, thank you very much. Thank you, mate. Very good luck to you.
Thanks, Van.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bless you all. Appreciate it.
See ya. Bye. I wish I was musically talented.
I'm tone deaf. I can't even sing in the shower. Anyway.
I used to be in a pop group.
Oh, you did? Yes, you did. Yeah.
We'll leave that for another time, hey?
Yeah, okay. I haven't been I don't have any skeletons like that yet. I have other skeletons, so we won't go there. All right, so let's bring on our next guest now. Leanne Reddie is my cousin, but that's not why she's on the show. She's also a senior hotel executive who, unlike the majority of us, has actually been traveling the world during the pandemic. So it's a very bizarre scene seeing some of her photos online where normally you would see a very packed Mykonos and it's completely dead. I mean, it has picked up now that the vaccine has rolled out, but this is just a few months ago when it was completely empty. Let's bring her in now.
Hi guys, it's great to be here.
That is some great ring lighting right there. I haven't got mine yet.
Yeah, we need to. I'll get one to you tomorrow. Great to connect with you both.
So Leanne, obviously the reason we have you on the show is because not that you're my cousin, but the real reason is because you're a senior hotel executive. You started from nothing in Ayers Rock and have really done so well. Can you just give us a bit of a background of how you've kind of risen to where you are now, a global professional nomad, essentially?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I first left Melbourne back in 1998 and went out to Ayers Rock Resort, now called Voyages, and I had a foundation of working in every single hotel department. I was working there, was meant to be for 3 months to build up my flying hours and to earn some cash to continue on with my flying training. And then I ended up being there for 5 years, and it was incredible launching pad to the global world of hospitality and tourism. So I'm really fortunate. So yeah, so I left Australia back in 2007, and I still haven't returned full time. So I'm very fortunate to be in Australia right now.
And now you just go on planes, you don't drive planes. So that's quite fabulous.
Yeah. Let's clarify that. I realized after September 11 and the ANZAC collapse that I far preferred drinking champagne up the front. And subsequently, the great hotel experience I formed at AEST Resort allowed me to literally travel and work across the world. So I have been in the United Arab Emirates, in Egypt, in Thailand, and also Vietnam. So
I guess
my current home is Thailand.
I guess the thing at the moment is that, you know, us Aussies, we can't really travel, but you've been able to travel at the peak of the pandemic, like earlier this year. Take us through it. Where have you been and what's it been like?
Yeah, so like fellow Australians, I was also locked down for a significant time in Bangkok. So we went into lockdown quite early in January, February last year in 2020. And since then, the first time I could actually leave was in March. And so I went from Bangkok to Dubai and then into Vietnam using a special entry expert visa to be able to visit the hotels in Vietnam that my company is a part of. And subsequently, I had to do 17 days quarantine in a Vietnam isolation facility. And then I've continued to travel since then because it's only just from the 1st of July that Thailand has even reopened to take travellers in the Phuket sandbox. And this photo on the screen now is the PPE that I was put into on arrival into Ho Chi Minh Airport. So that was quite a shock. I wasn't expecting that after all the protocol to be put into PPE because I had a dress on and I had high heels. So try walking with a shower cap on your high heels, but that's how I was transported to our isolation facility. And I wasn't prepared for it. We weren't briefed that that was going to happen, but there was only 24 passengers on the plane. So, it was quite a quick and seamless process. But, even leaving Suvarnabhumi Bangkok airport was an incredible experience because, you're talking the world's most visited city normally with 40 million passengers to then be like one of 20 on a plane is quite incredible. So yeah, it's been quite confronting. Just even walking through Suvarnabhumi and yeah, it's. I think that's probably the biggest confronting sort of experience I've had is going into airports, and the entire airport experience is like nothing you've ever experienced, and because you can't comprehend being the only traveler. I've been on planes that I've been one of 20 passengers. There's been more crew than passengers. Even flying to Australia, there was only 25 passengers on the flight. So yeah, it's the airport experience is something that you're not used to at all. But on the flip side, Dubai was fully operating, fully open, no question, like as normal. So it's been very different for the country.
And the buzz of the airport that you get, when you get there and you see people throttling it down the aisle to get on the plane, people running around like madmen in the airport, that just is completely not there.
Not at all. There's a whole different level of respect as a traveler. There are a lot of different people are just very conservative. Obviously, everyone has their masks on. You also can't board or disembark an aircraft as you normally would. They disembark by rows, and you can't even stand when the plane has stopped at the air bridge. You have to physically wait till you get told your turn. But I think it was when I was told to make sure I remove my mask before I put the oxygen mask on was probably something I hadn't in the safety demonstration, was something I wasn't wasn't expecting. Yeah.
And as you're traveling, what's the testing situation like, and how many times have you been tested?
Wow, the paperwork to travel to every single country that I have traveled to since March has been incredible. I have a lever arch folder to carry all the paperwork and the QR codes and the PCR results. And I have done now 56 PCR tests since March to support the travel requirements. And this one on the screen is just the simple, like in Dubai, they have converted car parks in malls to be drive-in testing centers. You do it from obviously your vehicle. And so like I've been tested in 8 countries now around the world, multiple times, because that's the requirement. In obviously board an aircraft, you need PCR test, and also to even in Hamburg, I was in Germany, you can't enter a store or dine in a restaurant unless you have a PCR result that's negative within 24 hours. So it expires every 24 hours, basically.
Yeah, a friend of mine who lives in Berlin has just said that how they are reopening now is simply by entry into a club or a restaurant is purely by showing your test result, and they have rapid ones that come back so quickly. I mean, at the moment, because of the surge in cases here, we're waiting sort of quite a while, and that's understandable. But over there, where things have, I guess, eased a bit, they have these rapid testing. I want to ask you, you managed to get to Europe during this, the last 3 months. I miss Europe. I miss the Amalfi Coast. I missed Mykonos. You went to Mykonos. What was it like? Because usually there's people dancing on tables and it's all very buzzy, but look at that, it's empty.
It was empty. First of all, I was traveling for work, so this wasn't a leisure trip. It was certainly, I was covering lots of countries as a result of my employment, and subsequently what was a standout was the fact that I got to see some of the major tourist sites, and there literally was no one there. And it was a privilege, but this is the peak midday on a beach in Mykonos, which I know the situation might be a little bit different now. But I went to places that I was then fortunate not to be part of mass tourism, and I think that's been the biggest response in my eyes, is that we were over tourism. There was mass tourism. There was so much foot traffic in these destinations, and I think we've been able to give it a little bit of a breather now. But
Can I ask you, when you're in Mykonos, did you happen to go for a gyros and talk to some of the locals just about how they're surviving at the moment? I mean obviously there would be some local traffic, but not on the scale that we would have seen. How are they surviving? How are they feeling? What are they saying?
I can honestly say across all the European destinations I went to, from Croatia to Italy, I was sometimes the only guest in a hotel. When I was in Croatia, they said that they were running at 30% occupancy for peak season, which would normally not be the case at all. You're in the ramp up of the July holidays, you'd be at least 75 to 80% occupancy for hotels. And the biggest message that I got from being in Europe was that everyone either had COVID and were dealing with the long-term symptoms as a result of being infected, and they had major fatigue issues, and a lot of the people I met couldn't taste any longer. So 7-8 months later, they had no taste. Or the other lot were vaccinated. Like, that was the two scenarios. It was so extreme, the difference for me to see that in comparison to Asia, where we had no vaccinations. When I left in March from Thailand, vaccines weren't available to the population. So to be then only a month later in Europe and seeing how widespread, it was quite significant. And that was my biggest takeaway.
Can we talk about the quarantine process in different countries when you're in hotels or whatever it may be? What was that like?
Yeah, so I come from a different perspective because I'm a hotelier, so I know the parameters required to run a quarantine property. In Saigon, I was in a property for 17 days. I fortunately had access to fitness equipment. I had access to a treadmill and spin bike. You don't have any fresh air, you don't have any sunlight. It's quite extreme to be locked in a room. And I think in Vietnam one, I did really feel like a prisoner because I've got an alarm go off when I tried to open the door. So that was quite extreme. But fundamentally, you've got hoteliers creating an environment that's to support the travellers to enter the country. And then I've done another 15 days quarantine here in Melbourne, Australia. So, you know, I've done nearly a month of quarantine this year. So that's been quite extreme.
And here's a very quick look at that experience, I think he said, in Vietnam.
This guy is living.
So we heard there the alarm and then some music. So what's that about?
Yeah, so the alarm goes off whenever you open the door. So you're obviously collecting food delivery or any sort of things from that chair in the corridor. That's as far as you can reach out. And then my neighbors were having a real party. They had music blaring and were clearly enjoying using the fitness equipment. And, you know, you do what you can to survive that sort of experience because it's not normal. There's nothing that can prepare you for being locked in a room for that period of time. As much as I love hotels and I spend a lot of time in hotels and hotel rooms, nothing can prepare you for that.
What's the, I guess, obviously you got some fitness equipment in Vietnam. You can't get that. I think it's hard to get in Australia. So you had fitness, you had obviously your food delivered. What else do you do apart from Netflix? Because I watched like one episode of Netflix and I need to get out. Like I'm done. I can't binge. So what do you do? Did you do a marathon? Because I saw some guy doing a marathon back and forth his room. Like that was crazy.
Yeah, so you know what, the biggest thing for me in terms of quarantine in Vietnam was the fact that I knew which hotel I was going to. So I could plan in advance and they gave you the options of hiring equipment, having everything set up in your room before you arrived. So I was really set up for the experience. I had Les Mills online and I had a program every day. Plus I'm working. So, you know, I am fundamentally online for work, you know, 9 to 5 minimum. I did my party online. So there's a fantastic course that you can actually do all the theory before you get into the pool. So I was able to spend, you know, 3 days of my quarantine doing my party course because I've always wanted to scuba dive, but I've never been able to segment that time. You will laugh, in quarantine in Victoria, my driver's license from international doesn't qualify for a conversion in Australia. So I have to redo my learner's permit, and which is extraordinary because obviously I've been driving international. I did my learner's permit. Yeah.
I won't ask how old you are and say how old you will be on your learner's permit, but that's hilarious.
Hey, Leanne, I do have a question from a hotel's perspective. There's this debate about whether hotels are appropriate quarantine facilities, right? And whether we should have purpose-built facilities. But around the world, hotels are still being used as quarantine facilities. So to what extent do you think it's appropriate then?
I first read about hotels being a quick and dirty solution, basically 12 months ago, to support the arriving and stranded passengers globally. In my humble opinion, hotels are not built for be a biosecurity environment. And I do feel that in countries that have the ability to create a purpose-built venue, it's critical that we embrace that. Because I think the thing that I was most disappointed about my returning to Australia perspective was the fact that you're consistently being told that you are a risk and that you are the result and you are causing the lockdowns within the country because you are bringing it into Australia. And so it's very upsetting, or it's very unsettling experience to them because they reminded you are in a high risk environment as a result of your travels. And that's the bit that I just feel that we have amazing opportunity to deliver a better solution in Australia. And you know, like there's over 120 hotels in Bangkok are quarantine hotels. Okay, I know that number is a lot less in Melbourne even. So
can I ask you two near last questions? Are you vaccinated? And the other thing is, the whole time, did you think you were going to get COVID? I mean, were you just like, I'm going to get it?
So first of all, I'm not vaccinated because I haven't had the opportunity to be vaccinated. I think it hasn't been whether or not I've had a choice. I haven't had the choice. I am booked in on Monday morning to get my vaccination because I'm privileged as an Australian to have access to it. And I think that's one of the biggest things right now when I see my friends globally are facing with the fact they don't have a choice as expats or as foreigners in other countries. It's only just happening now. And in terms of I'm so strict with the protocols to follow of traveling, of wearing a mask, of making sure that I keep the distance, that, you know, I even go to the extreme that I wipe down my luggage and I wipe down my touch points because I understand where the contamination is. Yeah.
With everything.
So I would say that it's been, you know, I guess I have a different perspective because I worked in a hotel environment, which was considered the original major frontier of the virus, because Bangkok was such a highly visited city, and it was at Chinese New Year when it happened. So I think we have, I guess I have a different perspective on controls and protocols that I follow. And you know, I was on planes without anyone else on the plane, and I have high confidence in the HEPA filter systems of aircraft. And then the rest is just not putting yourself in an environment that you could be in, you know, you could be subject to being in a contamination event, right? So it's being smart.
If I spoke to you 2 years ago, you would have been telling me, you know, what champagne to order, what hotel to stay in, what to wear to the pool bar, all this fabulous stuff. Now you're telling me which mask to wear, which PPE, which hazmat. I mean, you're an expert now in both sides. So that's really interesting.
And Leanne, just maybe a couple of questions from viewers if we want to answer them. So Salim asks, curious if they have QR check-in codes overseas or do they use another system?
Yeah, so in Asia, it was all check-in by scanning a QR code, while in Europe, it was you have a QR code to prove that you are negative to then show to check into a venue. So it was sort of a different scenario. Like one was you controlling it or others controlling your entrance. But remember, a lot of people in Europe have an app now with the EU digital footprint. They have an app that shows their status of their vaccination as well. And that was the same in Dubai. Everyone had the app on their phone and it actually lodged every PCR test that they had and the results. Well, I've only just got out of quarantine in Australia, so I can see that you have to scan here. So, you know, you can board an aircraft without the right paperwork. So just to enter a country, you needed to generate a QR code through a passenger identification form, and you had to fill out all the right paperwork and your address details and your travel history. And when you've been to 9 countries in 3 weeks, that's a lot of travel history.
Wow. It's like getting a mortgage together.
Yeah. It's just don't do what I did and travel with nearly 70 kilos of luggage.
And Leanne, in wrapping up, I mean, given that we're trying to provide some inspiration, right, and leave, you know, people with a smile on their face, is there any positives to what you've seen over the past few months when you've been traveling?
You know, it's such a great question because I saw a new wave of how people treated each other. People were kinder, they were more adaptable, and I think people were just kinder and understood that we were all in this together. I truly feel that the only way out of this situation is that we have vaccinations, because there is no other solution being presented. And I do hope that we find a way forward that allows us to get out of these constant lockdowns, because I can see the damage that it does. And yes, it might stop the virus in its track, but it's also causing a lot of damage. So I really hope that everyone visualizes where their top travel bucket list is in the future and works with their travel agent to make sure that happens, because the travel industry needs you, and they're excited to be serving you and to welcome you as a guest in the future. So I really hope everyone researches their number one pick, and that's something that you've been leading, keeping, I'll do it next year, I'll do it next year. Work it out now and book it now. And if it includes some of my hotels, I would be my pleasure to upgrade you.
That's where we end it.
I expect a good rate. She's my cousin. I get something.
There's a ready privilege, no problem.
Exactly. Hey, thanks, Leanne, for making time for us today. And you're now 3 days out of quarantine, so enjoy Melbourne, or what you can enjoy of it.
Yeah, we'll find out Tuesday, I think that's what I'm being told, that on Tuesday. So keep safe and keep well.
Thank you, Leanne. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a lot of good info there.
Good. A lot.
Yeah.
She's like like I said, I used to get travel tips off her, and now I'm getting quarantine tips. So, the world certainly changed.
That's the other interesting thing, though, because the only way we can travel at the moment is through other people's experience.
Yeah, and literally, I was seeing all these photos of her online. That's why we decided to talk to her, because it's just it was bizarre seeing these empty spaces in these very popular destinations. So I'm dying to travel. I think that made me depressed.
Hey, where would you go, Mark?
If I could go tomorrow, do you know what? I'd actually go to the Amalfi Coast again, because I just wouldn't mind just relaxing first and then going somewhere like party, like Miami or Mykonos. They're my two favorite sort of party cities.
Groundbreaking, Mark.
Groundbreaking stereotype. I love Miami. But yeah, I think that would be my two. I'd go anywhere. Honestly, I'd go anywhere. What about you?
Oh, one of my favorite places in the world is Ibiza. The beaches, the resorts, the food's fantastic, the culture, and obviously back to Portugal, my hometown, my homeland. So, of course,
love Portugal.
Hey, given the last topic was on vaccines and travel, we might point you to something that's happening on TikTok tonight. Dr. Kerry Chant is doing a Q&A for TikTok viewers. So if you use TikTok, or if your kids do, and you want the opportunity to ask Dr. Kerry Chant, who is the New South Wales Chief Health Officer, maybe get them to try TikTok tonight.
I don't know about you, but I'm not on the TikTok. TikTok. Just not
if you just
TikTok,
call it the TikTok, you have no right to be on TikTok. If you've
I'm on every other app. I'm on every other app, not the dating app. Sorry, I've given up on them. But every other app. I can't be on another app.
Well, good. All right. Well, next week we've got. I think we'll be back on Saturday.
Yes, Saturday night, probably 8. Did we do 8 p.m. last time? Let's do 8 p.m.
I think
again.
Yeah. So we've got another couple of interesting things we're planning to do. We're planning to crash a dinner party in Sydney, where they are dressing up in theme with their neighbours in different balconies. So hopefully that'll work out. We'll try something different, and we'll also have a well-known Australian TV presenter who's we're not going to talk about her career. We're going to talk about the art of paper folding, which is, Mark?
Origami. Very fitting for the Tokyo Olympics. I'm not watching it. Are you? Are you watching it?
I've watched bits and pieces. Yeah, bits and pieces.
Tuned in. Okay.
Don't forget, if you do have any suggestions for guests, if you know someone that has something uplifting or an inspirational story, make sure you send us an email, and that email address is ricardo&reddie@gmail.com, or you can send us a message via our Facebook page, facebook.com/Ricardo&Reddie.
And yeah, we do want to hear from anyone you know, particularly actually anyone that is doing something really nice for someone during the lockdown at the moment. That might be cool. Let's get some uplifting stories.
And maybe focusing on single people. Like we said last week, there are in the city of Sydney, there are 36.3% of all households are single people households. They're doing it pretty tough. They might want to talk about some of the things they're doing to help the community or the immediate community too.
Yeah, apart from drinking through it. But anyway.
All right, see you then, everyone. See you, Mark.